Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 337 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with their owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. How's it going today, Richard?
Hey Seth, doing well. Spoiler season is finally over, and we have a lot of exciting news today.
Yeah, we have a ton to talk about this week. So much stuff. But before we get into that, we got another co-host in Krim. How you doing this morning, Krim?
Oh, absolutely. Just wonderful. We are having the time. It is Monday. Let's go with that. Let's go with it is Monday.
So one of our first topics, and we got a ton of topics today. We're going to be bouncing around, but one of our first topics is a commander banning that just happened this morning. So that's going to be topic number one. We got commander precons to talk about. Not going to do full spoiler discussion, but I want to talk about them a little bit. We have a couple other smaller topics: new standard / standard 2020 worlds announcement, some questions we wanted to answer about the weirdest place we've played Magic, some fish mail. So we're going to be all over the place today, which means I guess we should probably jump right into it, start getting through these topics. So first off, we got a big announcement today featuring the Commander format. Richard, what's changing in Commander?
All right, Commander Advisory Group released an update. One, clarifying dungeons are perfectly fine in Commander. That's to be expected. But the big news is Hullbreacher is banned. Their specific reason is that they did not like the offensive capability of Hullbreacher and mass draw effects such as Wheels. So Hullbreacher Wheel they did not like. And they're keeping Notion Thief, Narset, those kind of cards in the format because they think they're not played too much and there's the appropriate restrictions on them. So Hullbreacher banned in Commander.
Krim, how do you feel about Hullbreacher being banned in Commander?
Well, if we're just taking requests, right, at this point now, I'd also just like, since the CAG is just picking stuff off randomly that are unnecessary, then why don't we ban Sakura Tribe Scout Elder? Forests should be banned. Ramping should be banned. So, at this point, I take it that, these are all things that are also going to probably get banned then, right? Because I find them problematic, so I don't know. I think this is totally unnecessary. I don't understand why this card is banned when legitimately it has never been, or I don't even think it's offensive at all. And I am somebody that would play this card, and I get that. But the reasoning behind why I play that is because I think these effects are great in multiplayer games because gacha cards are great in multiplayer games. And I think the more we remove gacha cards and things like this, let's just say teaching a new friend when they're playing Commander or something like that, you want to teach them like, hey, these are cards that are annoying that you can probably play around, or you need to learn to play around or whatever. And when we start removing those cards away from people and like whatnot, it just kind of makes it so that people don't play around anything. And we're only now furthering this mentality of, don't worry, you don't need to play anything. I'm just going to rule 0. So at this point, like I do think that after a certain point, we're just gonna no one's gonna play around anything, and if it's even slightly problematic, it's only gonna further this issue where I think people get really upset at people for playing cards that they might enjoy or certain play style because it inconveniences them. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. I think that's bad news bears because soon counter spells will be banned and whatnot at that point, right?
So okay, counterpoint, and I'm on the very opposite side where I love this banning. I don't know how you play around Hullbreacher Wheel. Like, flash in Hullbreacher on step, untap Wheel, win the game. Like, how do you play around that? That's not like, oh, you got greedy and you cast a big Sphinx's Revelation and I got you or something. That's like what you're building a deck around. So I actually really agree with the Keg's reasoning for this banning. Like, hating on card draw is fine. As much as I like drawing cards, I think that's healthy and good. But the offensive capabilities of Hullbreacher, where you see it being these Hullbreacher Wheel decks and the amount of redundancy those decks have, I think that's a really miserable play pattern. I've compared it before to like mass land destruction, where you like do this thing that essentially takes all your opponents out of the game, but it doesn't actually win you the game. So then the game continues for a bunch of turns and all your opponents are really sad and salty because they don't have any hands to play Magic with. And it actually just ends up being a really miserable experience. So I think, I hope that if Wizards wants to design cards like this before, I think there's ways to design them where they would achieve the goal of hating on excessive card draw, but without being excessive combo pieces. Like, I think Ashiok might be a good example. Ashiok specifically says if a let me get the actual text here so I say this properly. But if it's essentially if a spell or ability your opponents control. Spells or abilities your opponents control can't cause their controllers to search their library. So you can't play an Ashiok in Field of Ruin someone and be like, I gotcha, because that's offensive. Ashiok's worded to be defensive. Like, it shuts down the searching, but you can't really combo with it. I think if you did the same thing with Hullbreacher, and if it said, if a spell or ability your opponents control would cause them to draw a card other than the first one they draw each turn, you get treasures instead. I think even that slight tweak would probably fix the problem, because then you can still play Hullbreacher as a hate card and shut down people's card draw, and you can still even get people with it if you flash it in response to a Blue Sun Zenith or something, but it would take away the negative part, in my opinion, of the card, which is the Hullbreacher Wheel play pattern, which is just, that's my least favorite play pattern in all of Commander. So I'm happy to see it gone, but I do think there's a way that they could print fixed Hullbreacher style cards that are not combo pieces and are just card draw hate.
So I'm 50-50 on this. I don't know who should I be friends with today, Seth or Krim. I'm very impartial to this, but I just want to say I find these reasonings like very inconsistent. Okay, so I agree with Seth that like Hullbreacher Wheel is not a good play pattern, right? We don't want that, but the card they should get rid of is the wheel, not the denying card draw, right? Like, nothing good has ever come from a wheel. Either you wheel and empty everyone's hand with Notion Thief, Hullbreacher, you wheel because you're storming off and you win, or you wheel because you're Mr. Moneybags with a Wheel of Fortune, right? Like, there's so many downsides to wheels. Like, what is the upside of having wheels in the format? So if they want to get rid of this interaction, they should just get rid of the wheel part. But I think they're actually getting rid of the fairway, right? Like, we say the fairway is fine. Like, if you Sphinx's Rev into my open mana and I get you the Hullbreacher, that's fine. But like, most casual players will be beyond salty about it and they'll rage quit the game. Like, I think that is the one they're trying to fix without saying it. Because if we're talking about like 2-card toxic combos that are too high powered for casual play, there's so many of them. Yeah, right? There's so many of them. Like Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Constellation. You're like, oh, that doesn't affect casual because you know not to run it, right? You should also know not to run Narset Wheel in your casual deck, right? Like, so I don't buy that argument. Like, I just think a lot of people don't like the actual Hullbreacher part of it, right? Where if I draw 3 cards, you get me the Hullbreacher, right? I think they're trying to hit that part as well, not just the combo part. Because if it's a combo part, I think wheels are better to get rid of. And we have so many like game-ending combos for 2 cards in Commander, right? So I don't know. This is a little weird one. I don't care either way, but I wonder how this will go, because I don't think Wizards will stop printing Hullbreachers, right? Like that seems to be a new cool thing that they're doing. So like, what, like the RC can keep banning it? Why is Notion Thief fine? Why is Narset fine? I don't know, right? But consistency.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the keg is not very consistent, or the rules committee. Like, we've talked about that many times before, so I think that is a fair criticism. Although I will say, Hullbreacher, I think, is the best of the bunch. Like, Narset dies, Notion Thief, you got to be in 2 colors, and it's 4 mana. So if you were going to try to, like, power down the Hullbreacher Wheel play pattern, I think that Hullbreacher is the most efficient and powerful of the bunch. So I don't know, if you don't want to kill it outright, I also strongly disagree with banning wheels. I think that wheels have a lot of fair uses. Like, I feel like 90% of the wheels that like 90% of the wheels that I've cast in Commander is like, oh, I'm playing red or Boros and I don't have much card draw. And this is like, oh, I go from, 2 cards in hand back up to 7 cards in hand after I played all my horrible red stuff. Like that's most of the wheels that I've cast in Commander. So maybe I'm the exception and everyone else is using them in much more like unfair ways, but I cast them as card draw spells very often.
That's like saying Krim plays Hullbreacher the fairway. He doesn't offensively wheel us. He just flashes it in response to your Sphinx's Ram, right? Like
legit.
So many lines of play are like, I'm Spellslinger, I have mana, I wheel, I just keep drawing my entire deck, right? It's like someone playing the fair extra turn card. Yes, I'm sure someone has done it, but most likely they're chaining through extra turns and winning the game. Right, you're gonna Underworld breach back your wheel and wheel some more and wheel, like, and it's just so expensive. Like they're very expensive, and I don't know. I just feel like, how do you stop? So maybe I'm agreeing with Krim too much because I've been playing Control on Commander Clash, right? Like, if you get someone with Hullbreacher, it means that they were about to pop off, right? If someone like is playing into a Hullbreacher and is gonna get salty, it means they're about to draw like 5 cards. Right? Like, they're popping off, but everyone's fine with that. But I can't play a Hullbreacher to pop off with 5 treasures and stop their spell. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, I don't know, right? It's like, I don't get it.
Yep.
I know when we were making the ban list for this season of Commander Clash, we actually had a pretty big conversation about these effects. And I think that what finally ended up getting them banned this season is me and Tomer both came down on this side of them being essentially combo pieces. I think that's where we both landed. Like, we were fine with people playing those cards without wheels. Like, if you want to play those cards and not have wheels in your deck, I think even though we both strongly dislike that play pattern, we were fine with it. So maybe you're right that wheels are the problem, but wheels have been around so much longer and are so much more ingrained. To some extent, like banning Wheel of Fortune seems like banning like Soul Ring or something to me.
No
like, should it be banned? Probably, but
you're just banning Wheel of Misfortune. Like, how many people actually play with Wheel of Fortune, right? How many people can own that card and play it?
Yeah, I guess the price is something that would keep people from playing.
Right, I guess we have Magus of the Wheel too, right? Like I guess those are the predominant wheel effects.
You have
right?
you also
the Miracle one.
Yeah, you have the Reforge the Soul. You have Days Undoing. You have stuff like
there's
that.
actually a lot.
Yeah, there's
Time Twister legal for some reason.
Windfall.
Yeah, Windfall. But like, I'm very much so in the camp of just getting rid of the wheels. Like, just get rid of the wheels.
Then how about, I mean, I want my wheels, but at least get rid of both. Like, if we do have to go down this horrible path of banning Wheel of Fortune, at least ban the Hullbreachers too, just on principle.
Well, if it's on principle, then a lot of things go on this list, right? Then it's like 90% of the card pool goes now, right? Because you not only that, you then take out like Ristic Study, you also take out like, Greater Good, you take out, every bit of, I think a lot kind of just goes out the window here.
Yeah, they're not supposed to ban on power level, right? That's the CAG's official stance. There's no power level bannings. This is just play pattern and funness banning.
But I mean, like a miserable play pattern then is like, well, I think
I mean, if it's
miserable
too powerful,
is relative.
It's a miserable play pattern, right? Yeah,
right. Like and it's like, oh well, I don't have graveyard hate, so I hate graveyard decks. I think that's a miserable play pattern. That's what I mean. Like, that's how I'm looking at this. So it's like, oh well, some people just got a little too salty, and you know what that means? It's on the ban list.
You should join the Commander Advisory Group. I feel it's all green players there.
Yeah, like
maybe we get some blue players on there. We'll get some more balance to the color pie.
You might literally get balance if I'm on the CAG.
Oh, I do not know if I'd want Krim on the after playing Commander Clash with him for a while. That scares me. All right, one more question, then we better move on to other topics because we got a ton. They mentioned Narset, they mentioned Notion Thief, and said we're not banning them, but we're going to be keeping an eye on them or something to that effect. Do you think those cards are going to, let's say in the next year or two. Do you expect those cards to get banned, or do you think this is it? Hullbreacher's gone. We're good now.
I think there's going to be a lot more that people are going to try to complain about. I think they'll eventually get to opposition agent. I think they'll eventually get to like just pretty much anything that slightly inconveniences people. Soon it'll be Ghost Quarter.
Yeah, I actually think of all the gotcha hate cards. Not Hullbreacher. Opposition Agent should have been higher in terms of saltiness, but I don't know. Like for some reason, like Narset is a planeswalker. It's hard to deal with, but you can attack to kill it. It's sorcery speed, but it has all the same toxic play patterns. So I don't know, right? Like, where do they make this determination that Narset is safe enough? Or like say Notion Thief, that one black mana makes the difference and it's now safe. Like, I don't know how they make this determination, but most likely I think these cards will be safe because Wizards will print more broken cards. Like they'll make a Hullbreacher 2.0 for everyone to get up in arms about. So
I hope
probably
so.
These old cards are safe.
I legitimately hope so.
That would be kind of funny if there was a little battle between Wizards and the CAG where they like ban a card and then Wizards like functionally reprints it with a different name and they just keep going back and forth like that. All right, we gotta move on. We also got our Commander Precons. So there are 4 of them coming alongside Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. We got to preview one of them over on the Commander YouTube channel, MTG Goldfish Commander. So check that out on the Commander Clash podcast. Otherwise, Richard, what do we get out of this Commander release?
I don't know that we got anything we didn't know. So there are 4 decks. We have our deck, which was Prosper Tomebound, the Rakdos Exile Matters deck. We have a Bant Aura of Courage deck, which is like a Aura equipment deck. We have Dungeons of Death, Esper Dungeon deck, and then Draconic Rage, which is a Gruul Smash Dragons deck with lots of dragons in it. So those are the 4 decks. So the code for this is AFC. Realms Forgotten Commander, and they're available when Forgotten Realms releases, and they're obviously going to be legal in Commander, but the cards that are unique to the set are not legal in Standard, but there are some reprints shared between Forgotten Realms and AFC.
Yeah, I mean, I think the decks look pretty sweet. There isn't anything that jumped out to me as being like, oh my goodness, that's so broken. I don't think we have another Hullbreacher yet. Got to give it a couple more precons to get that. But there is some really interesting stuff, some cool legends. I feel like they did a pretty good job with the power level in designing unique commanders rather than just buzzed commanders. So you can see them all over on mtgpreviews.com. Interesting. Krim, any commander precon thoughts?
I like the Esper one. I think it's pretty cool. but okay. I mean, like, that's kind of expected, right? Like, of course I thought that one would be cool. Are we, like, without going too in depth, I'm just gonna say that I really, really like the zombie weapon. And I love zombies in Commander, so lots of flavorful stuff here.
There is a cool zombie equipment. There's also a cool like attacking Panharmonicon commander, which might be my new favorite card. I feel like Wizards designed Wolfgar like specifically for me because they know I love Panharmonicons, but I've also been turning into an aggro player, so now I can have my Panharmonicon and still be aggro if I build a Wolfgar deck. So that card's super sweet. I'm super excited to build that one. But
yeah,
we also got, speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, Joe Dyer, who does This Week in Legacy, who does Vintage 101 on the site, actually wrote a D&D adventure themed on Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. It's called The Golden Fish. It features a bunch of like characters that maybe you would know, and I think like Krim and I and Tomer and Richard show up in there. So if you're interested, you can find it over on the website. You can download it for free on DM's Guild and play through the adventure if you want to. So definitely pretty interesting. Got some awesome art from Adriano, who does all of our thumbnail art. So if you're interested in kind of a little bit of a crossover between Magic and Dungeons and Dragons, could be an interesting thing to check out. Let's jump into Standard. We haven't talked about Standard yet. So we just got the release of Adventures in the Forgotten Realms about a week ago. It's not out in paper. I know, Richard, you mentioned you've been playing a bit of Standard on Magic Online. Is Adventures in the Forgotten Realms doing anything in Standard?
Okay, so disclaimer, okay? I've given up on Magic Arena. I'm pulling back the credit card. I'm like, what is the point of Arena? I'm just going to play on Magic Online, where I can use loan programs to flex around different decks, right? I don't want to be locked into a deck, especially if I want to play Forgotten Realms cards, which look a little underpowered. I don't want to waste my wild cards on them. So disclaimer, this may not be the same meta that everyone else is playing, because it's just like old bitter people on Moto playing each other. But I played a league of Standard. It fired, okay? I was a little concerned that the matches would not fire, but I played through perfectly fine. I did not see a single Forgotten Realms card anywhere in any of my opponent's decks throughout the entire league. I was playing White Weenie. It was bad. I don't know what the list should be, but it was not good. But, you know, it was just, here is Edgewall Innkeeper, and here's Value Train, and here's some Rogues, and here's some Yorion, and it's just same old Standard. I didn't see a single new card anywhere. And from what I've been hearing on the interwebs, it seems to be a very common experience with the Forgotten Realms.
I'll have you know, I've played against it a lot. I don't know what you're talking about. I've seen the creature lands.
Okay, that's something.
Okay, maybe it's just me forcing all these cards too. By the way, like I've played against, like, you know, a few of the dragons, mostly just the blue one, Emirith, and I think that's actually about it. Yeah, never mind. I'm yeah, okay. I haven't seen much of this set on the ladder whatsoever.
And I think this is backed up by the actual data. So we haven't had a ton of like huge tournaments yet, but we did have a challenge on Magic Online, which is a pretty, by Magic Online standards, a fairly high EV event. And if you look through the top 32 of that event, as Krim mentioned, you'll find a few scattered creature lands, like, oh, Rogues throws in a Hall of the Storm Giants or whatever. And that's fine. You see a couple power word kills in removal slots, but really, there isn't anything that I would consider a Forgotten Realms deck. There's no like new archetype built around those cards. And for the most part, decks are kind of completely unchanged, or maybe like have a very, very slight taste of Forgotten Realms in the utility slot. So yeah, I feel like Adventures in the Forgotten Realms pretty much has fallen flat in Standard. We're going to have to wait until rotation for it to really have a chance to do anything, and that probably doesn't bode super well for its chances in older formats either. I know me and Krim were doing our top 10 for Modern recording it a few days ago. I think it just went up, and for the first time in years, we were actually kind of like, man, I'm having a bit of difficulty making a top 10 list. Like, once you get past the like top 5 or 7 cards, you're kind of in the back to like the, well, maybe in a sideboard sometime in a certain meta type of cards, rather than like a lot of past sets, we would have 10 plus cards. We'd have 10 and we'd feel like, oh, we got another 5 or 10 that we could easily, you know, put onto this list, and we think we'll actually have a chance of seeing play. So it does feel very, very powered down. The good news is they're doing a queue on Magic Arena of Standard 2022, which is basically post-rotation Standard. Have either of you been experimenting with this fake, I guess I would say, format? Because technically we don't have Innistrad yet, so this isn't real post-rotation Standard because we're a set short, but it is Standard without a lot of the stuff that people are ready to see leave, like Eldraine and Ikoria, so it is a bit of a breath of fresh air in that sense. Have either one of you tried Standard 2022?
Oh, yes, I have. And I think the format is fun. It gives you a little bit of a teaser of what rotation is going to be like, and I'm excited to see this coming. However, I do think the format is, it is just objective. Like, it is just not complete. And you can tell because there are some things that are just too broken, right? Because like creature lands are absurd. Creature lands are absurd. And then on top of that, in that format that you are experiencing Ranger class, you see Paladin class, you see a lot of Forgotten Realms. So, that's a good thing. That bodes well for rotation. I'm really excited for that. let's also just make sure that it's known that I think we kind of all knew this was coming, right? That Forgotten Realms, all these sets, Strixhaven, they're really a non-factor in Standard. And also to kind of lightly touch up on what Seth had mentioned about the modern top 10 video, I couldn't, to be honest with you, I was reaching for anything past the third card. Like you were like 5 to 7. I would say I was struggling after the top 3 because this set is very low power, lots of fun. I mean, I do think this set is a lot of fun. And yeah, so Standard 2022 specifically has definitely given me a taste of that. And I really, really cannot wait to see what Innistrad brings. I hope we have some kind of Field of Ruin or maybe some kind of Ghost Quarter effect, anything along those lines. Also, mana bases. Losing, as much as we hated Eldraine, we are forgetting that we are losing out on some really fun stuff and some interesting stuff. Like losing out on the Triomes feels kind of bad. Losing out on, what's that card? Oh, like Extinction Event, Triomes, just lots of stuff in Ikoria that I didn't really think too much of because oftentimes it got overshadowed by Eldraine cards that are just leaving. And I'm kind of sad to see some of them go. I'm not sad to see cards like, let's just say Yorion, stuff like that go. But like, did you know that like Ikoria actually has more than like 8 cards?
I thought it had 10, the companions, and that was I guess maybe the ultimatum, so 15, and that was about it.
See, like I was deck building on stream, and I'm like, oh well, why don't we just get Extinction Event? Wait, where's all my Triomes? Oh well, it's fine. We'll just call it the Death Dweller. And then I realized, wait, none of these cards are here. I'm like, where's Heartless Act? Is my thing broken? And I really didn't realize how much we are losing. Like I know that it is kind of sad, but like even cards like Fire Prophecy, which would be really cool, or Narset, or General Kudro. There's a lot in this set that was actually pretty cool. Just got overshadowed by the fact that Companions existed and that Eldraine existed.
Yeah, I'm super hyped for rotation, but you are right. There are some, we talk about like the newer sets being overshadowed by the busted stuff from Eldraine and Ikoria to some extent, but there is stuff from those sets that never really got a chance to shine because it just wasn't as pushed as the other stuff. I think that Standard 2022, I definitely agree that you can tell it's not a real format. The mana bases are a little wonky. Creature lands and like land-based combos are insane. Like the Exalted Deeds combo deck with Faceless Haven is pretty busted when you don't have a good way to answer a land. So you can get some weirdness there because presumably we're going to get more dual lands when we go to Innistrad, and we're going to get, a replacement for Extinction Event or whatever. Like those cards will probably come in the next set and we'll have them for Standard proper. On the other hand, I really enjoyed playing Standard 2022. Like, it's very diverse. All the cards that I've been waiting to leave rotation are gone, so you don't got to worry about Lovestruck Beast or Bone Crusher Giant or getting Yarion or Ultimatumed or whatever. And people are doing a lot of really cool things. So even though it's kind of a fake format, it's given me a ton of hope for post-rotation. Like, it seems like things currently are pretty balanced. So unless Innistrad comes out and really throws everything out of whack, I feel like we might be heading for a pretty diverse and fun, if not super push Standard. I think the power level is going to be lower, but I would gladly accept a lower power level where you have a bunch of playable decks that are roughly on equal footing than a higher power level and having to deal with Okos and Emergent Ultimatums and all the miserable Lovestruck Beasts, all the miserable stuff from the past year. So playing Standard 2022, even though there is weirdness, it's got me even more excited about what Standard might be like in a couple of months when we finally hit rotation. Anyway, before we get into our next topic, Richard, we have a sponsor today. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about them?
All right. Today's show is brought to you by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. You get fresh pre-measured ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep, and you can skip out on trips to the grocery store and have easy, fun, and affordable home cooking. So maybe you're playing, your latest Dungeons and Dragons campaign, possibly the Golden Fish found on mtggoldfish.com, and you don't have too much time to be cooking, elaborate dinners and stuff like that, right? You want quick and easy meals. which HelloFresh has you covered with 15 to 20-minute recipes. They have 50 menu and market items each week, including ready-to-eat salads, sandwiches, and soups. My favorite meals so far are the beef bulgogi meatballs. Yes, I've seen the comments. Yes, I actually cook them and eat them. And yes, they're good. So it's quick and easy, and everything was made in my oven. So thank you to HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, for sponsoring our show. Go to HelloFresh.com/goldfish14 and use the code goldfish14 for up to 14 free meals plus free shipping. Once again, that's HelloFresh.com/goldfish14 with the code goldfish14 for 14 free meals. So thank you, HelloFresh.
So moving on, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Worlds and Wizards taking a lot of money out of the prize pool. They promised $1 million prize pool, and then they just kind of snuck into a article, $250,000 prize pool for Worlds. And there was a huge uproar. Pros were upset. The community was upset. Everyone was kind of upset about this. But a few days ago, Wizards published another article about the upcoming World Championship. Richard, what did this article have to say?
All right. They are adding a $50,000 appearance fee for players who play at Worlds. So if you do the math, there's 16 players. So the total prize pool is now $1,050,000. So greater than the original $1 million. And I guess the important thing here is flat. It's just an appearance fee. So no matter how well or poorly you do, you get the 50K. But yeah, so that happened. My question to you guys, is this a response to the community outrage, or is this just poor marketing by Wizards and they always had this in the plans?
Either actually seems possible, knowing Wizards, because their marketing sometimes is not great, and we have also seen them make decisions and then backtrack based on community outrage. I would lean towards, in this case, it probably being Wizards backtracking to community outrage. I mean, it's kind of, in some sense, a free roll that you stick the 250,000 in there, and everyone's already kind of like, well, you know, Pro Magic's dead, whatever. Maybe it just kind of slips through and no one makes a big deal about it, and then you save yourself $750,000. So my guess is it's more like double wildcards in Historic, where Wizards would have accepted the lower prize pool if the community did not freak out about it, but maybe they knew in the back of their minds if there was a freak out, they had this fallback plan. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there's a chance they actually were doing the right thing the whole time and they just didn't tell anyone and led to a 2-month freak out or a month-long freak out before they actually published the article?
I mean, I don't know. That's the problem. Like, 'cause much like how we had mentioned earlier, I don't know if they planned this or if this seems more like a reactionary thing. It feels that way, right? So I think this has to do with entirely just everybody and the backlash that's kind of come with the announcements that they've made.
Yeah, I think it's the backlash. Like, if they, let's say they actually planned it, and then, you know, they updated the prize pool without updating this part. When the backlash happened, they would have just been, hey, we forgot the second part of the announcement, which is this 50K appearance fee. The fact that it took so long meant that they had to go back and think about it and be like, okay, yeah, we can do this, right?
Bob, where's the rest of the announcement? It didn't post. Oh, crap.
I don't know what this means, though. Does this mean they're going to keep Pro Magic alive, or does this mean they're just going to have an announcement at the end of this world to say, hey, yo, next year, 250K? Like, I'm going to put it out here a year in advance so you can't blame me for anything.
We'll by that point, we'll definitely know, right? Like, because then it's like, well, if they're like, oh, 250K this year. Okay, last year's announcement was just the reaction to the backlash.
I wouldn't read too much into it as far as the future of organized play. I think it's a weird situation, so I wouldn't take it to mean anything in that regard. And also, I know when I mentioned this on Twitter, some people are like, well, Wizards like messed up here, so you don't want to like praise them when they, you know, they're the ones that messes up to begin with. And I think I can see what people are saying there, but given the choice between Wizards not paying what they promised and paying what they promised, I think that doing the right thing eventually is better than them continuing to do the wrong thing. So I'm mostly just happy that the players who like spent time and effort qualifying for this are actually going to get the money they were expecting and the money they were promised. And in some ways, this is probably even better. I would assume as a Pro Magic player, you'd rather have $50,000 guaranteed and a $250,000 prize pool than, you know, a $500,000 going to the winner of Worlds or something and having a chance that you show up and essentially go home with very little. So this might actually be even better for the players in the long run. It is just disappointing that it took so long and so much complaining and so much backlash from the community to get there. Wizards probably should have had the foresight to know this would have happened and headed it off, you know, before rather than waiting until people freaked out for a couple of months. But in the end, I think it is a good thing. So it would have been nice if they got there quicker, but I'd rather them get there eventually than not get there at all.
Wait, not to sidetrack us, but do you guys know how Pro Magic actually works? Like, what if they had a top-heavy prize pool, like winner takes like $500,000? Do they split? Like, do all players come in with the agreement that they split? Like, kind of like when you play a big tournament, like top eights and stuff usually aren't played out. They're just actually split and you're just playing for like fun. Like, does that happen at like Pro Magic at the highest levels? Does everyone go into Worlds like with the agreement they split the prize pool and that, or do they actually play it out and the winner actually takes home all the money?
That's a good question. I actually have no idea. I'd have to ask a pro on that. I don't know.
Or is this a dirty secret of Magic that we're not supposed to talk about? Like concessions and draws and, and things like that. Because, the first time I top 8 a big event, they're like, you want to split? I'm like, what? I came here to crush nerds. What are you talking about? They're like, oh, everyone's going to split. I'm like, huh?
I don't think it's a dirty thing though, because it's a pretty well accepted thing in poker as well, where you can like sell shares of your winnings essentially to minimize your risk essentially. So I don't think it's a dirty thing either way. I just have no idea how much it happens. I've certainly heard of, playtesting groups having deals like that with each other or friends, but I have no idea if like all the 16 players at Worlds just agreed to split up the money anyway. Like theoretically, I guess that's possible, but I've never heard that. What about you, Krim? Have you heard anything about that?
Not really, but I guess, I don't know. I mean, the idea of just like also talking about splits has always been awkward. Because like back when I was like judging, like just anybody starts talking about prizes, you kind of just have to like listen to that talk because the wording could get very dicey. I think I've had to DQ somebody just for even bringing up like something that sounded like it's hard. It's either as simple as the wording is, would you like to split or not? Yes or no. And I don't know how this goes into like bigger events and with a bigger prize pool. So I actually just don't know either. Like this just seems like one of those gray area things.
All right. So moving forward, I don't know if y'all saw this over the weekend. Hunter Pence, MLB, Major League Baseball, former player, World Series champion, now Magic streamer, went to a celebrity softball game with a bunch of like pro baseball players. I saw CC Sabathia there and a bunch of like well-known athletes. And he went with a bit of bling as a necklace. What was his bling, Richard?
It was a necklace with a graded Black Lotus sitting on it. And I believe you said it was a 9, Seth, a 9, which would put it in at $500,000. Yeah,
that's the estimates I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, he's literally just wearing a Magic card on a chain in a non-Magic event, right? That's the more shocking part. It's just like random people, right? He's like, yeah, here he is.
It's so sick.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I bet it's like some of the most expensive bling there too. Like you probably see these big like diamonds and chains and stuff. The Black Lotus is probably worth as much or more than most of it. Krim, would you wear a Magic card as bling? Would you wear a Magic card necklace?
Oh, 1,000% over. I am in love with Hunter Pence's like bling here. I would do that, but of course the card I would do that with is nowhere nearly as valuable. Mine would just be like Snapcaster Mage or something like that, just because I love it. But yeah, like I think the idea of necklaces with just Magic cards graded is perfect. I want to see more of that.
I think it's kind of hilarious too. Maybe this will be the start of a new trend. I'm also curious if he wore it in the actual game. I would be very nervous about playing even a celebrity softball game, which isn't like the most competitive event, with a $500,000 worth of cardboard flying around my neck as I like run the bases or try to go catch the ball or whatever. So I don't know if I would do that. I'm hoping he took it off before playing the game. It'd probably be even funnier if he was just like running around playing the outfield with the Lotus flopping in the breeze behind him.
I mean, yeah, I would love to see that. Just the imagery of somebody running with a black lotus just flopping around their neck.
What about you, Richard? What do you think of Magic Bling? Would you do it out in public at a non-Magic event? That's the criteria. Sure, GP, that's one thing. A wedding or something. Would you show up with that as your?
No, what am I? What? You'd have to field all these awkward questions all day. I try to look normal in public. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, if I was trying to make a statement, this is how you make a statement, right? Like, can you imagine just like showing up somewhere with this and you're like, how much is that card? Oh, it's 5 cents. It's the latest secret lair drop. You can get it at secretlair.com. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to carry $500,000 on my neck. What if someone actually recognizes what it is and like beats me and takes it and runs off, right? Like that's insane, right?
Yeah, there is risk there for sure, yeah. Well, oh, go ahead, Grim.
Oh no, my dog also agrees. That is sweet. Yep.
So speaking of Magic showing up in weird places, I had a graduation party this weekend, and I went to the graduation party. I mentioned before, there was a big sale on Ikoria Commander decks, so I bought them at a really good price, and I took out like the free spells and a couple of their valuable cards, and I was going to ship them all to my little nephew, and my little nephew was going to be at the graduation party. So I brought them to give them to him, and I wasn't planning on playing Magic. It's a graduation party. But he said he wanted to play a game, and then next thing you know, random strangers who I'd never met and had no idea played Magic were like, hey, I got my decks in the car. Like, let me get in on this. And next thing you know, we played a few Commander games like on a picnic table at this graduation party, and it was actually super fun and actually super funny. Like one of the kids that I didn't know that played with us, he in the first game he mulliganed down to 4, and I was like, oh, we're just playing for fun, like draw back up to 6, and he's like, no, I'm good. It's like, that's a little bit strange. And then on turn 2 he treasure hunts and draws 70 cards, and he was playing a 96 land Cherix deck with treasure hunt, mnemonic wall, and Thassa's Oracle, and like ways to get it back from the graveyard. So the idea is you just like mull the treasure hunt and do those shenanigans and win with Thassa's Oracle. And then he actually won on like turn 5, and of course my little nephew, never seen Thassa's Oracle before, thought he cheated and got like really upset and thought he was cheating, because Thassa's Oracle does seem a little bit like cheating if you've never seen an alt-win condition like that before. But that got me thinking, what's the weirdest place you've ever played Magic? We all play at LGSs, at home, at local game stores, at GPs. Have you ever played Magic in some weird, very non-Magic-y place?
Oh, I'm thinking, I think I have, I mean, I think it was mostly like when I was on the road. I think we would kind of just like play it, back when I did music and we were touring. I think, the other guitarist and we played Magic. I guess it's not like a weird spot, but it's not your typical spot in that we set it on our van's bench as the van was like driving, and it's like not like when it was before we got bumped up to Sprinter or like a bus or anything like that. We're talking about the like white van and like we were just playing on the middle bench, and I think we had to like tell the drive, like we were telling, I forgot who was driving. I think it was our drummer or something like that. Yo, hey, stop driving as fast. The cards are bouncing around.
Slow down. You're messing up my Magic deck.
Slow down. We're playing Magic back here. All right. So,
oh, that's great.
I think that's probably got to be one of the spots.
Oh, what about you, Richard? Weirdest place you played Magic?
You guys are too adventurous. I don't think I've played Magic in a non-Magic setting ever. Closest would be like maybe like PAX or something, where you're just going and there's just randomly like they're giving out starter decks or whatever, like those free decks, and there's just a bunch of people playing. But other than that, no, I haven't.
Wait,
really...
Richard, you took part of that? I feel like that's weird. Wait, what? Really?
What? No, some friends wanted to play Magic, so I played with them, right? But
Okay.
you know, we didn't bring our own decks, right? But you know, they were giving out
that's
those
right.
free. I forgot what they are. Like,
The-
like
yeah.
they're not even commander decks. They're like 60 card decks of like random stuff, right?
Wait, aren't they like 40 card decks?
Oh yeah, 40. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the standard welcome things or whatever.
Yeah, they're like a welcome deck or something like that. We used to give them out.
But you know,
Yeah.
it's still a magic-y place because WotC's there giving out decks at his packs. That's not a far stretch from your LGS. So no, I haven't really just randomly busted out magic cards at a random place and played before.
Yeah, I gotta say, based on this experience, I might start just keeping a commander deck in my car. Like, build a cheap budget deck and just leave it in my car because who knows? Apparently, there's Magic players everywhere, and you never know when the opportunity will arise. Because I definitely was not intending to play Magic at this graduation party. It just kind of happened, and it actually ended up being like kind of fun. It was kind of rainy, so you couldn't really do stuff outside. So it actually worked out perfectly, and I got to see a cool deck idea that I'm probably going to steal and lose horribly with on Commander Clash at some point. So
Okay, how would this group have reacted if you Hullbreacher wheeled them?
oh,
Get good, kids. Hullbreacher wheel.
Get good, kids. They're like then stiff arm a child or something like that.
Just body slam her through the table and walk
Yeah.
away. Like, yeah, we did it. We brought another member into the community.
Welcome to Commander. But I mean, how would that table feel exactly about, I don't know, any of the other things we're doing in Commander? I don't know.
I will say it was kind of enlightening with Thassa's Oracle because I'm used to it. Like, I play Modern, I played Magic a lot. I like all win cons, but seeing my little nephew's reaction, never having seen a card like that before, the gut reaction of that's cheating actually didn't seem that unreasonable to me because we were like just playing a normal game, and then all of a sudden it's like this person plays this one card that isn't even it's a 1/3. It's not even impressive. How's that gonna hurt me? And then they're just like, okay, win, and they start picking up their cards, and you're like, wait a minute, like that's not how Magic works. So I don't know. It definitely kind of turned me even more against Thassa's Oracle, which I already would be fine with it being banned, but I think it is that kind of card definitely seems to be something that is not enjoyable by new players.
Your nephew is a future Jund player. You play a Tarot coin. Your opponent goes, you're like, wait a minute, you're cheating. I thought we agreed to honorable combat, good sir.
He's like 8, and he also got to learn a little lesson about mutate. We were playing last year's Ikoria commander decks, and I explained all the decks, like the theme of them to him, and he really liked the idea of like making a big monster by, obviously because he's 8, of like mashing 2 creatures together. So he was very excited about playing the mutate deck, and he kind of like figured out, you know, the basics of mutate, and you put it on this and it gets all the abilities and it's really cool. But then someone actually like killed his mutate creature, and he was very heartbroken when he learned that all of your stuff dies if you kill a mutate pile. So that was also pretty fun. Anyway,
all my cards are done.
Yes. That all it takes is one removal spell. Good old mutate mechanic.
Well, you know we don't.
Anyway.
We know we don't play that, so don't worry. Things will live.
Yeah, who plays removal?
I mean,
what kind of horrible, dirty player plays removal spells in Commander?
Yeah, interact with me. Oh no.
All right, Richard, fish mail us.
All right, if you have questions, send them to @MGGoldfish with the hashtag MGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air. Teletran1. Do you think Wizards will ever do a soft release of a set on Magic Arena, patch cards for balance, and then do a hard release in paper a few months later? This avoids the issue of printing cards that are different than digital.
Wait, what's the question?
So I think the idea
they
is
do like a
what if
beta
they
or something on Arena first, and then they patch the cards and then release the cards in paper.
I think that'd be too difficult just because of the fact that they do these sets so far ahead. And if they want to have like everybody kind of like do like a kind of like how like example Overwatch and all these games, they have a PTR that you can kind of like play a month before the release. That's fine because you could do it with those kind of games, but with how Magic works, I think like their PTR would have to be released like 4 years in advance. And I think that's the difficulty in that.
Yeah, I think the timing would definitely be a big issue with how long it takes them to make Magic sets. And I think the other issue is paper makes a lot of money. And I imagine you'd have to spoil the whole set. Then you'd release the whole set online, and then the idea is going to be you like fix some stuff, print it, release it like I assume like 6 months later or something in paper. I feel like the hype for the set maybe would die down by then. People are going to get really impatient. There's a million new products. We're going to be on like 2 spoiler seasons into the future. So it might kill people's desire to like purchase the set and like bring down Wizards profits. So maybe they could do some sort of like closed beta where you could like do stuff early, but I'm not even sure how that would end up working with just how far ahead Wizards has to work on sets to get them printed in paper. So cool idea, but I don't know if it could work in practice.
All right. Taikiki23, do you think we'll ever see Paradise, a legendary land that taps for mana of any color? No downsides.
I mean, not even like City of Brass. I mean, I don't even think that's like that big of a downside, but
yeah, it's like a City of Brass that's legendary that doesn't cost you a life on activation.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I think especially being legendary. I when I first heard this, I hadn't thought about the legendary part. I don't know if they'd print a non-legendary one. I think.
Are you sure they printed Field of the Dead?
It's not a power level. I think the power level would be fine. It's more like they have City of Brass, they have Mana Confluence, they have like, if you have an artifact, you get a Painless City of Brass and so forth. There's so many different variants of that they can print that I feel like if they print the best possible one, just no drawback, taps down mana any color, then in the future, every time they make like, oh, the artifact version, people are gonna be like, oh, like that's kind of cool, but it's not as good as this. And you just like kill the hype on a lot of future designs. But if it's legendary, that is a drawback, especially for, 60 card formats. Like you can't just play for them necessarily like you would a City of Brass. So if it's legendary, I think it would definitely be fine. Non-legendary, I'm more on the fence as whether they would actually do it or not.
We have Command Tower, which is effectively this for Commander. So I think they will definitely add one somewhere. And, Command Tower is the best land, but you have like 37 lands in your deck. So, you still play City of Brass and Mana Confluence and all those things. So I think for Commander, they'll definitely add this. For 60 card formats, I think it's fine. Like there are reasons to play basics. You can't fetch them. I don't think they would run rampant. We effectively have like when you play Modern, you have effectively any color mana base you want anyway. So I'm not sure that this really matters, and you still get got by Blood Moon the same regardless. So I think it's fine. They will definitely print a Lotus land or something that taps, a Lotus Petal land. They will definitely do that at some point. I'm Malkin here. Will the Faceless Haven Book of Exalted Deeds combo be an issue in upcoming Standard? You can turn on Haven, exile Exalted, targeting an angel, and when it goes back to being a land, the opponent now needs land removal.
This is okay. So like this becomes a problem like once Field of Ruin leaves. Right now, I've seen a lot of people like try that combo out in Standard, and I don't care like because I play for Field of Ruins, right? But that's because we have that. Now, if it were as simple as playing like Lithiform Blight, that'd be great. But as Lithiform Blight stays on the battlefield, it's something that they can remove in a color that has a lot of enchantment removal. So I myself think that could be a concern. That could be a concern. That or any creature land, right? Really. Or no, it's only the that land because it has to be an angel
to target.
Yeah. So then I see that being a potential problem.
I am in wait and see mode. So I think the combo in our current like Standard 2020 post rotation Standard is pretty insane. Yeah, Lithiform Blight can do it. Yeah, I guess Cleansing Wildfire can do it in some random like 4 mana spells, but there's not a lot of good options for dealing with a land after rotation. I've been playing the combo like crazy in Standard 2020, and I'm at like a 80% win rate across almost 50 best of 1 matches. It's like absolutely like absurd. I think it's the best deck by far in best of 1. In best of 3 though,
undefeated.
Oh, go ahead.
Aren't you undefeated? Because technically it's Standard 2022. So I don't know who's playing 2020.
Yeah, standard 2022. So undefeated, but yes, the deck's really good in future Standard, but we probably get some answers in Innistrad. In best of 3, I think it'll be okay, but you can play sideboard answers to it if it becomes too popular. So I feel like it'll probably be okay, although I am like legitimately worried about best of one. I think that could be one of those cards that ends up being a best of one banning, because in best of one, you can't just play 4 Cleansing Wildfires in your sideboard. You can kind of like jump through a lot of hoops and play like Wish to tutor something out of your sideboard, but that's going like really, really deep. So we'll have to wait and see what Innistrad brings, but I lean towards the combo being good but not problematic in best of 3, maybe problematic in best of 1.
Isn't there always a Ghost Quarter in Standard? Like
we
a
hope
Ghost
so.
Quarter type effect?
Well, no, we didn't.
Do we have standards where they don't put them in?
Yeah, we didn't have one before Field of Ruin. There was a chunk of time right after Ixalan that I think we didn't have it. Right? Because I think there was the window like after Ixalan and all that rotated out. We didn't have Field of Ruin until Theros.
Yeah. No, we've definitely had standards without having any option. Although at the same time, Ghost Quarter has been in Innistrad before, and I assume Wizards, even if they didn't see the Deeds combo, Exalted Deeds combo, usually when there's creature lands, Wizards tries to have an answer to creature lands. So I'm fully expecting there's going to be something like Ghost Quarter or Field of Ruin or Tectonic Edge, even something like that, that's going to show up in Innistrad. So we got to wait and see, but I would be surprised if there was not some sort of Ghost Quarter effect.
What if the answer that they're kind of like expecting us to rely on is Cleansing Wildfire?
Oh, then the combo's insane, because you got to be in red in specific. Cleansing Wildfire isn't that main deckable. Like the draw card makes it like okay, but it's still not something if you play against mono red or mono white or something, you're going to be pretty sad if you're sitting on, multiple Cleansing Wildfires and trying to cantrip and blow up a plains and they get another plains. Like that's not very good. So I think there's got to be more than that, or the combo might actually be a problem.
Yeah,
but it's just so hard to say right now because we don't know what's going to come in Innistrad. Like the combo could be unplayable after Innistrad if they watch them put Sinkhole in Standard or Strip Mine. Like if they had really good land hate, then the combo is just like not even a thing.
Like yeah, like I that's my concern right now. It's like, well, where are they going to go with Innistrad? However, just without knowing what's in Innistrad and what's available to us right now, I think that combo would be problematic.
Yeah, no, I would agree. That's been my experience in Standard 2022. Like it's absolutely insane. It beats everything.
All right, last question. Bills fan 6473. Wizards claims only 10% of players play events, but what percentage of sales are those 10% directly responsible for? When you think about it, it is likely much higher than 10% when you account for sealed and singles from new sets.
I actually don't think the 10% that plays events are the biggest spenders. Some of the biggest spenders that I know of in Magic are people who are collectors, financial types who are trying to, make a profit off of their cards, either short-term or long-term. They are casual players who have a ton of money and are able to buy whatever they want. Example that would be I don't like Hunter Pence with the Black Lotus or something. Like if you got a ton of money and you're someone who isn't like playing in Pro Tours and you like Magic a lot, why not spend a ton of money to get, the cool blinged out versions of the cards that you like? So I think that those are actually way bigger spenders than the spikes. Even yesterday, for example, like one of the kids I ended up playing with at the random graduation party Commander game, when I met him first, he said, well, I play competitive Commander, but then his decks were definitely what I would consider pretty casual. I guess maybe he's trying to win, but it definitely was not like CDH by any extent. So that was one of it. And we was talking about the cards and he was showing me like, oh, his Commander Legend stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, I bought, a few booster boxes of that just to like get the cards I needed to be able to like build decks with. So I think that casual players actually way outspend competitive players. And that doesn't even include how many like pro level players I know who don't really even buy cards for the most part and get them from their sponsors or borrow them from someone else that they know that has the cards. So yeah, I think that 10% is not a huge deal financially either. But I don't, maybe I'm off base, but that's my take.
Yeah, I think the more ingrained you are in the actual like competitive side, the less money you spend. You only buy the good cards, right? You know not to buy booster boxes. Those are bad EV. You just buy the singles you need. And you spend a lot of money, but not directly to Wizards, right? You like buy singles that goes to like Card Kingdom or whatever, right? And you just don't chase after like the premium cards as often. Like I don't know, but even then, like I feel just based on how Wizards is doing everything, like they know for sure who spends more, and everything is catered towards casual players, right? And standard sucks, and that doesn't matter. Events are not firing, that doesn't matter. Secret layers, commander, everything, like that's making all the money. Like the focus on say Amazon and Walmart and stuff like that shows you like where a lot of cards are being sold. So I would say it's just enfranchised players trying to feel more important. Like, yeah, we're 10%, but we make up half of the revenue. Like, I don't think so. We're probably 10%. We make up like 5% of the revenue, right? I think that's the more likely outcome, but that's not to say we're not important, right? Like being super fans has some importance, but not necessarily like direct money, but things like Seth, right? Like being an ambassador for the game, spreading it at random events where it's not supposed to be, like teaching new players, things like that, right? Like I think that's the importance of the franchise players.
Dunking on new players.
Yeah, dunking on new players, showing them Hullbreacher,
Stiff arming people out of the way.
Yeah, body slamming, stiff arming. Yes. All,
it really reminds
all
me of
fun
that
Grand
Peyton
Party
Manning
Commander stuff.
SNL where he's playing with kids. Like that's what Seth was doing.
Oh yeah. All right, last Grand Party Commander story. When we killed my little nephew, he almost started to cry. You could see him like tear up. So he's still learning how to lose a little. So maybe I did kind of body slam him, or maybe at least that's how it felt.
You emotionally
felt to him when he got taken out. I just cast a big Comet Storm, and he had a big mutate creature. So I mean, it was the right thing to do, but I felt a little guilty afterwards when I looked at his face and he was like tearing up. I was like, oh no, I've never had to deal with this before when I kill someone in a Commander game.
I'm gonna just start crying in Commander Clash when you kill me.
This is our next level tactic.
Yeah.
Put on the puppy eyes for Seth.
Don't kill me, right? Hey, I'm about to cast my Notion name.
Oh, anyway, I think that brings us to the end of our cast. Richard, if people want to send in more fish mail, where do they send it for next week?
All right, send them on Twitter at the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 337 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So, Richard Grimm, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. And we will be back next week to talk about whatever goes down in the world of Magic. So, until then, have an amazing week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.